Hello there and welcome to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachukwu and these are the top stories. Supreme Court fixes date for final judgment in FG's case against Nnamdi Kanu. Chicago State University gives fresh update on certificate Tinubu submitted to INEC. Fresh details emerge as Atiku prepares to speak on Tinubu's academic records. Atiku files documents against Tinubu today as Chicago State University Saga rages on, and Peter Obi demands better salaries for teachers on World Teachers' Day. Details now. The world news begins with the Supreme Court fixing December 15, 2023 as a date to deliver judgment in the case by the federal government of Nigeria against the release of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. The Supreme Court announced the date on Thursday after the lawyers of both parties made their final submissions. It would be recalled that a court of appeal had dismissed the treasonable felony charge against Kanu and ordered his release based on arguments that the IPOB leader was unlawfully brought back to Nigeria after he jumped bail. However, the government appealed the ruling of the appellate court and approached the apex court to set aside the ruling, but Kanu is praying the court to uphold the ruling on his release and set aside the stay of execution and judgment. After the federal government, represented by Tijani Ghazali, a senior advocate of Nigeria, and Kanu, represented by Michael Zekame, made final submissions on Thursday, the Supreme Court picked December 15 to give a verdict. Meanwhile, the Chicago State University has affirmed the validity of the diploma certificate presented to the Independent National Electoral Commission by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The institution in an affidavit affirmed the diploma certificate and the certified true copy of the diploma as valid. CSU in an affidavit it presented to the court in Chicago said, and I read, Chicago State University provided a diploma to Bola Ahmed Tinubu and subsequently provided a certified copy of that diploma. Both are valid and authentic diplomas of the Chicago State University. Monday Ubani, however, who is a former chairman section of public interest and development of law at the Nigerian Bar Association, has said that it would be difficult for the Supreme Court to admit fresh evidence in the appeal of the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. Ubani said it would take a lot from Atiku Abubakar's legal team to convince the Supreme Court to admit fresh evidence in the appeal of the Election Tribunal's verdict. Meanwhile, Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, will address the issue of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's academic records released by the Chicago State University at a press conference today. The press conference is scheduled to be held at the Yar'Adua Center at 3 p.m. And this is according to fresh details by Abdul Rashid, Atiku's special advisor on media. The special advisor on media wrote, and I read, H.E. Atiku Abubakar will be holding a world press conference today, Thursday, October 5th, to discuss a fixed certificate Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu submitted to INEC Nigeria for the 2023 presidential elections. The Chicago State University, in a sworn deposition, has disowned the certificate, stating that the certificate was forged and did not emanate from the university. And still on the certificate saga between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Atiku Abubakar, having obtained President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's academic records on the order of an Illinois Chicago court, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, would on Thursday, October 5, file his application at the Supreme Court. Atiku, who contested against Tinubu in the February 2023 election, is expected to file the document he obtained from the Chicago State University in furtherance of his election appeal at the apex court. The legal tussle concerning the legitimacy of Bola Tinubu as Nigeria's president rages on. Recall that the university released the academic records of the president earlier this week, and the CSU registrar, Caleb Westberg, also carried out a deposition of the documents on Tuesday, October 3, in compliance with the ruling of Magistrate Jeffrey Gilbert. Gilbert had on September 19 granted Atiku's request for the release of Tinubu's academic records, but the president filed a review of the order. Sources in Atiku's camp confirmed on Wednesday, October 4, that Atiku would meet on Thursday, October 5, to file new evidence against Tinubu before the apex court. Now, to talk more actually on this, I actually have, first of all, via the telephone, a legal practitioner, a social affairs commentator, a political enthusiast who will give us details basically on the legal perspective on the scenario, the certificate saga between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. Also, I have joining us right here in the studio physically, also who is let me not use the word a legal practitioner, but a social affairs commentator and a political enthusiast, one who has always had that interest when it comes to national politics. CP Chuks Enwamu, good afternoon and welcome to the World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM.
Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to the listeners.
Thank you very much. You can actually take the microphone up, yes, so that you can, possibly we can hear you very well. I also have joining us via the telephone a legal practitioner this time around and also a social affairs commentator, Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid. Barrister Tunji Abdulhamid, good afternoon and welcome to the World News at 12 right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM.
Good afternoon and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being part of the World News this afternoon. I want to start off with a statement that Monday Ubani made very recently concerning the debacle or the Tinubu Academic Record Certificate saga. Monday Ubani is of the opinion that right at the Supreme Court, this particular situation will make no difference. In fact, he reiterated as of when this whole situation blew out of, let me not use the word out of proportion, but became a main topic on the lips of every Nigerian. He stated that the university providing the diploma is not the problem, but that he is of the opinion or belief that it would be difficult for the Supreme Court to admit a fresh evidence in the appeal of the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. He said it would take a lot from Atiku Abubakar's legal team to convince the Supreme Court to admit fresh evidence in the appeal of the Election Tribunal's verdict. And this is where Nigerians are asking questions. For example, based on the 1999 Constitution, Section 137, which states categorically that if at all any document that seems to be forged in terms of releasing that to the public space to defend whatever one needs to defend, that is a criminal situation and that it is, you could actually consider that to be perjury. What do you say concerning what Monday Ubani is saying and concerning the back and forth between the school and the legal team of the president?
Yeah, I will not say that Ubani is totally wrong.
Okay.
And I will not say it should be. I will not say it's totally wrong, but I will not use that. I think why he said it's not in what admissibility of a new document before the Supreme Court is not possible. It only requires certain steps to be taken, certain conditions to be fulfilled. If I can fulfill those conditions, then the court can admit it. It's not that it's not impossible. For the court, for the Supreme Court to admit a new evidence. Section 20 of the Supreme Court Act empowers the Supreme Court to do that. In 2008, former TJN, Onogi, I can't remember the name of the case now, also stated the conditions under which that can be those documents can be admitted. So one of the conditions is that look, the alleged article to establish that at the time the state was at the tribunal, that document was practically impossible for them to have. It's not at that time. It's practically impossible to get it at the time. They also be able to. They also establish for the court that the document is credible, and you have a effect for the court, and that it's very, very, very to look at that. So if they can able to establish the conditions, the court and the court. So you know what the Body is saying is that it's not automatic. Admissibility of that document, the Supreme Court, is not automatic. It's at the discretion of the Supreme Court. In other words, I want to say something. You must bring evidence, not to convince them to be able to take it. So if they are able to do that and the court is satisfied, it can be admissible. So it's not proper to say Supreme Court don't admit new evidence. No, that would be incorrect. New evidence. That the person who's bringing the new evidence satisfy conditions. To satisfy those conditions, because the Supreme Court will take it and have said it. The evidence must not be available that it's going. it must be credible, and then, it will have physical effect on the outcome of the judgment if it's so if they are able to satisfy those things, what is to just to file and give to the court or application to court to ask the court to allow them to rely on it, and if not satisfy the court to grant it, and if granted the court to do it. So it's not be totally correct.
All right.
That, Supreme Court don't look at document data because it's not totally incorrect. They look at documents.
All right, but Barrister Tunji, there has been a contest rather on the legal tussle of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. A couple of persons have asked questions that the president and the presidential candidate of the PDP are actually friends. They have a good bromance for the fact that they've both been on the political scene for a long time. They understand how the political trajectory works, and that of what use would it be for Atiku Abubakar to continue to pursue this case? And a couple of persons are asking, what exactly is the need for him to continue on this? For example, like Monday Obani rightly stated, which you also corroborated, that there is a strong tendency that the Supreme Court may not tender this fresh evidence. They may not actually look into the fresh evidence that will be brought in by Atiku Abubakar. So the big question is, what does he stand to gain?
Like I said, when you're quoting there by Obani, and he said the Supreme Court, I've said it. Let's put it correctly. Supreme Court can consider it. They can look at it. It's not that it's not automatic. You must do something for them to look at it. So it's not totally correct to say Supreme Court will not look at it. No, we can't say that now until Supreme Court makes a decision. And again, let me say that this. Some people are saying since Elijah back and our president, our friend, why is he doing this? Is that the kind of country we are looking for? Thereby, I would say because my friend is committing crime, and because he's my friend, I'll just keep quiet. And we are looking for a country whereby I would say because Mr. B or Mr. C is closer to me or is my relative, and is committing crime against the country, against the state or against the country or criminal act, and I will just keep quiet. If that's the kind of country we are looking at, we can be looking at that position. That's why Atiku Abubakar doing this, because it's a trend. And again, Atiku Abubakar will gain a lot. In fact, Nigeria will gain more than Atiku in this thing. Because, the rampart of people being alleged of forgery will reduce. Because people will now be more careful in bringing any document before the court or whatever they are looking at. They want to occupy any position.
Okay, Barrister Tunji, apparently today, right, Atiku Abubakar is going to file his application at the Supreme Court. He is tendering fresh evidences obtained from the Chicago State University today, Thursday. And not only that, later this afternoon, Atiku Abubakar will be addressing the world on the whole CSU certificate saga. So the question is it already too late for him filing the case? Is he still within the stipulated time frame for him to file this new evidence at the Supreme Court? And what is the miracle that the legal team of Atiku Abubakar will pull to ensure that the Supreme Court looks into this? Because Justice Ariwala yesterday said that the Constitution of the federal government of Nigeria and the judges, they swore in some judges yesterday, that they would not be pushed or propelled by public opinion. They would rather work with the Constitution. That's basically where they would make their judgment from. And critics have said that based on the judgment from the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, it was based on the interpretation of what the judges felt would be the ideal response to the petition tendered by the opposition parties concerning the win of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So, critics have complained since that statement was made by Justice Ariwala that how are we certain that they would stick with what is on the Constitution, especially with this whole certificate debacle?
Yeah, if I get your question clearly, I think what the CJN is saying is a normal thing.
Okay.
That cases in court are not decided based on what is said on the video of newspaper outside the court or what is seen on the social media. Cases in court are determined by the fact before the court based on the law. So what if you have a good case and you have evidence on that case and you fail to bring those evidence before the court, because even if the court is aware of it, not say is aware of it. That's why you see most of the judges are always blinded. They don't. However you bring to them, it's what they see. So you have to open the court to the truth you are bringing before the court. If you have a truth, and you say, I'm saying the truth, that truth must be open to the court. So you must come and open it to them. If you don't open it to them, they don't say, I read it on the newspaper. saw it on TV. I saw it this and that, and based on that, they will be taking decision. No, it doesn't work that way. So if your body is on you, who is alleging or to take your case before the court. So that is correct. So it's not about anything.
All right.
The normal thing is that judges must look at the case before them and then take decision based on that. Then most times, what we are seeing is that most times they allow unnecessary technicality to override the merit of the case. Sometimes. So I think we need to look into that and then ensure that, look, see technicality as used away. So
all right.
Barrister
Tunji Abdulhamid, let's work with the Constitution, as Justice Ariwola said, that it will not be propelled or motivated or persuaded by the public or what their opinion is, since they are going to rely on what the 1999 Constitution states concerning any proceeding that is, within the Nigerian purview. Section 137 of the Nigerian Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Section 137, subsection 1 says, a person shall not be qualified for election to the office of president if A, subject to the provisions of Section 28 of this Constitution, he has voluntarily acquired the citizenship of a country other than Nigeria, or, except in such cases as may be prescribed by the National Assembly, he has made a declaration of allegiance to such other country, or B, he has been elected to such office at any two previous elections, or C, under the law in any part of Nigeria, he is adjudged to be a lunatic or otherwise declared to be of unsound mind. Or D, he is under a sentence of death imposed by any competent court of law or tribunal. Now, they also made a statement that he is an undischarged bankrupt, having been adjudged or otherwise declared bankrupt under any law in force in Nigeria or any other country, and that within a period of less than 10 years before the date of the election to the office of president, he has been convicted and sentenced for an offense involving dishonesty, or he has been found guilty of the contravention of the code of conduct. So these are criminal cases that may put somebody sub judice to not being qualified to run as a president of the country. This is the 1999 Constitution we are stating here. Do you think that the judgment at the Supreme Court will be based on this?
I don't. What you're trying to say is that, look, it's not. You see, when you say somebody, alleged of this or the alleged of that is not qualified, it's not automatic. If you are the one saying somebody is not qualified, you must bring evidence before the court to show that he's not qualified. It's not just by saying it. So the fact that somebody has said he's not qualified, that evidence must come before the court, and the court must look to it. So it's not when you now present evidence before the court. If the court is not evaluate it very well, you cannot appeal if it's a case that can be appealed to another court. And if the Supreme Court wants to appeal to another court, you see, most of these judges that are at the Supreme Court, at the lower court and whatever, they are not judges because they know everything, or they are the one who they are whatever they say they are the best in law. No. They will consider their opinion as their decision as final because the law says so, not because they are the most knowing. They don't. So what I'm saying is that whether rightly or wrongly, once the court pronounces on an issue, that becomes the position of the law in that at that instance. So in other words, if you are alleging that it's not qualified, it's not automatic. You must establish it before the court to confirm it that it's not qualified, not just by saying it. This one now, I was able to obtain evidence from CSU that the president forged his certificate. So it's time for intelligence to see how that document will be admitted by the Supreme Court. So if they're able to present it before the court, that's when the court will now look at that from this document to say that the forged document. Until that is done, so if the document is not admitted by because the Supreme Court will consider that nothing has been presented before them. That is the point. So the court will still look at it. It should be based on the document before them. So not just say because somebody did not say if you are not qualified, that you are not qualified. You must establish, not prove it for the court.
All right. Okay. So let's look at section 4. Let's look at section 467 of the Criminal Code Act in Nigeria. Punishment of forgery in general. Any person who forges any document, writing, or seal is guilty of an offense which, unless otherwise stated, is a felony, and he is liable, if no other punishment is provided, to imprisonment for 3 years. There are punishment in special cases, especially if it is forged, purports to be or is intended by the offender to be understood to be or to be used as the public seal of Nigeria or of any other state of Nigeria or the great or privy seal of any country of the Commonwealth or under the protection of a Commonwealth country. Also, B is a document having on it or affixed to it any such seal, signet, or sign manual or anything which purports to be or is intended by the offender to be understood to be any such or sign or manual. The offender is liable to imprisonment for life.
Hello?
I can hear you. I just read to you section 467 of the Criminal Code Act in Nigeria.
I understand what you are saying. You see,
okay.
Like I said, when you alert somebody of forgery, until the court says so, that you cannot say the fact has been confirmed. So it's not the bad punishment. The fact that you read out only be imposed by the court, not by anybody. Because by saying the document we have seen it is forged, and therefore, you must arrange that person before the court. He must go through trial, and the court must confirm that truly from the document here, document. Therefore, you are guilty of this offense. So until that is done, you can't say somebody has forged the document. Although there are some in civil cases, you may not be able to go through trial. What you need to establish to bring documents as I said to have been forged and establish it with evidence in court. So if the court is satisfied that this document is forged truly, that would be a grant to nullify his election or to discover him. But that would not be a grant to say, go to prison. But that is a civil matter. They can adapt in the matter that say it will be charged to court for further prosecution. Then in the civil matter, even if the court confirms that look, this document is forged, it will only be a grant to nullify his election or nullify whatever is using the document for. That is the way it is. So it's not just automatic that because the punishment is imposed, and then you say, okay, now that the PSU has said the document is not our own. Therefore, no, it's not like that. We must go through, if it's a criminal matter, we must go through the trial. If it's not criminal matter, if it's civil matter, the person who is alleging must establish it beyond the that he actually fought. Sir?
I'm listening. Continue.
So I said the person must establish before the court. This is not to say that I am disputing that the fact that the Chicago State University has said that document is not their own.
Okay.
If the school says it's not their own, the school is saying what it means entirely that it's the responsibility of the president to establish how he got the document. So if he's not able to get to establish, it's a criminal offense that on which he can be charged for forgery. That's immunity. If it's found out, it can't be taken to court for that. But in civil matter, what is going on at the Supreme Court now? That's the civil matter. That allegation can be made, and the document can be established that if the court is satisfied, then the court will say, okay, this is the grant. It can be established that you actually forge this document, and therefore you have contravened the law, and therefore your election is nullified. That would be a grant. That will only happen if the court allow the PDP and the larger people to submit the document for the court.
All right, Barrister Tunji Abdulami, thank you so much for your time on the World News at 12. I sincerely do appreciate your input.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, so CP Tricks, thank you for your patience, because I knew that a legal perspective on the case is basically only a legal practitioner that can explain most of all these would I say technicalities, and I needed to have that properly in perspective. Let's look at a particular foreign affairs minister, rather, who made a statement recently concerning the certificate saga. He said that Nigerians should be urged to forget about the controversy surrounding the academic records of President Bola Tinubu from the Chicago State University. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Toga, made that statement during a live telecast on a breakfast program on Channels Television. He stated that more important national issues need adequate attention rather than a certificate conversation. Minister of Foreign Affairs Yusuf Toga played down talks that the president and the entire administration are bothered about the controversy on the academic records of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu from Chicago State University. Do you think that Nigerians are getting unnecessarily distracted? Do you think that that is not a priority at this time for Nigerians to concentrate on the president's academic saga, but rather they should focus on national issues that is bedeviling the economy and the polity in general? Do you think Nigerians should not take it as a priority priority to look into the fact that there is a situation that seems to be non-transparent on the academic record that was tendered to the Independent National Electoral Commission by the president, and he is being sworn in as the president based on that academic record, which is a strong qualification to tender to INEC. And there is an anomaly concerning that. And do you think Nigerians should just look over it and then focus on other issues?
Well, in line with what the Minister for Foreign Affairs stated, I think he made a lot of sense.
All right.
We have biting national issues that ought to be attended to than the issue of CSU certificate saga. As far as that CSU certificate saga is concerned, it will end up in sentiments, emotions, and I know generally it borders on credibility, integrity, and trust.
Yes.
But as far as the law is concerned, I don't think, from what I have verified, I don't think it may have an impact on issue of the matter before the Supreme Court.
Okay.
Because the Supreme Court usually, as is expected of them, is to review what has already been pleaded or what has been, taken care of at the Presidential Election Petition Court or Petition Tribunal. And they don't accept new evidence except in exceptional circumstances.
Don't you think this circumstance is exceptional enough for them to accept new evidence? Don't you see anything exceptional about this particular scenario for them to accept new evidence?
Well, it is at the discretion of the Supreme Court. But from the way I see it, it will be very, very difficult because they usually invoke Supreme Court Order number 2 in very special cases. I don't think cases like this that borders on forgery, identity theft, and whatever, which was not even plead at
the Presidential Election Petition Court.
Thank you very much. It never came up. Then we are now expecting them to take it as fresh evidence.
So the question that came to the mind of Nigerians is that if it wasn't pleaded, if it wasn't part of the evidence that was tendered in the petition by the People's Democratic Party at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, right? That's basically the questions, Nigeria. So they're asking, what does Atiku Abubakar intend to achieve by really dragging this further, if it is possible that this entire effort could be in futility if the Supreme Court would not take this to consider?
I think his counsels may have, I don't want to use the word misguided him, or they may have convinced him that they are going to try their luck and see if the Supreme Court will accept it. But if they try and it fails, it is an experience. We would have learned from that so that it will guide us in future in pursuit of things like this in subsequent elections and going to tribunals and all that. But having said that, at the same time, on the other side, we are talking of morality. We are talking of integrity. We are talking of, a lot of messages to the Nigerian people.
Okay.
It is also, in as much as in the face of the law, we may not go too far. But on the other side, it's really a moral burden for everybody, including the leadership, such that in future we'll try as much as we can to avoid getting ourselves in such web or in such trap.
Okay, so let's look at this individual. They call him Reno Mokri. He has really been on the focal point concerning the certificate saga. In fact, you do know that one of the presenters in a particular very popular television station has really, really been on the focal front with Reno. And the reason why I'm bringing Reno, it's not to give anybody relevance, is because he's been bringing out conversations that seems to be factual concerning the situation with the CSU academic saga. And tempers have been flying, up and down. People have been wondering exactly why is it that there is a clamor for the president to vacate office. People are urging that the president should just, completely decline that presidential position that he has taken and be responsible enough to take over that as an elder statesman, one of a strong political person to, resign. But a couple of persons have said it's not possible for the president to resign concerning the fact that it is not something that is in his nature, not after going through this entire ordeal. Then you're asking him to resign for something that basically he may not have really looked into. But Reno Omokri himself, in one of his tweets long ago, a very long time ago, I'm actually trying to search for it, he made a statement and he said that he mentioned the CSU certificate saga.
Yes.
And he said, how can the president want to become a president in the country when he has been parading a forged document? But the tune that Reno Omokri has been singing recently is different from what he had tweeted a long time ago. So the question now boils down to, is this somebody who is being paid for by the presidency? He says he's part of the People's Democratic Party. He belongs to that political party. But he has really been severely defending the APC, defending the whole certificate saga. And it has brought a lot of people's minds to, Nyesom Wike, who is now the FCT minister, who claims he's in the PDP, but acts more like an APC member. So do you think there is a personal interest in where he's coming from?
Yes. Well, you find out that Reno Omokri, even though you claim that he's in PDP, I mean, he's out there for the highest bidder. If you, behind the scene, it seems, if he has been properly taken care of, he will now start speaking for powers that be. And that's exactly the role he's playing now. I mean, he has been consistently inconsistent. He will, just like FFK, was doing. Suddenly he moved to the other side. There are a lot of them who have absolutely no principles, and they keep shifting grounds and camp instead of facing things the way they should do and the way those things are. That is exactly what has been playing out with Reno Omokri. So whatever he says today, he's just like the weather. Tomorrow he will likely change color and go to
and say something else. So, but in this case, he has claimed that he is not of that note, that nothing like that has transpired between him and possibly any member of the presidency. He's just trying to stay on to truth.
Okay, he expects us to believe that.
That's basically what he's saying.
No, Nigerians will not believe him. Okay, assuming there are some underground exchanges of something in form of monetary or favors and so on. Is there any camera that covered it, or is there any witnesses that will be there when the thing would have been?
Okay, I want to read out this particular tweet. I think I've been able to see it now because I was looking for it.
Go ahead.
So Reno Omokri said a while back that Emilio Kon, show us your certificates. How can you not have attended primary and secondary schools? What qualifications did you use to get admitted into university? Using the same excuse Buhari used? Nigerians don't want Buhari's echo. We reject Buhari's shadow. He was referring to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that he doesn't want a replica of Buhari. So that's the question now is, what you tweeted a long while ago, and now you've been acting vehemently like you're the PR agent of the APC. I'm not being, what do you call it? I'm not doing what you call selective partisanship. No, I'm just trying to put most of these cases bare. The controversy has really struck a lot of, will I say, narratives from several quarters. And we're trying to get what the fact is. We're trying to get to the nitty-gritty of the matter. The presidency himself contributed by not being specific on certain details concerning this academic record. The CSU also themselves too, they've not been specific, although there are narratives that the school may not have been the one with some things we saw purportedly, across possibly on some online news medium, where there was an affidavit by the secretary, Caleb Westberg. It's possible that that was not genuinely from the school, because the Caleb will say that there is an affidavit that Bola Tinubu attended the institution. You hear CSU saying they cannot authenticate that particular certificate. And today you heard me read where obviously the school has validated the certificate that was tendered to the Independent National Electoral Commission, are saying that it is from their institution. So it's bringing a lot of, it's bringing a lot of confusion as to what exactly is going on Who are these people trying to deceive? Do they think Nigerians are not, brilliant or intelligent enough to put two and two together? I mean, that's basically what the whole hula baloo is all about. What's your take on that before we wrap up?
Well, as far as that certificate issue is concerned, from the bit we gathered, possibly the certificate was lost.
Okay.
And CSU made it abundantly clear that they don't replace certificate. So when and where did they authenticate the one that was presented to the INEC?
That's basically that's a fresh update as of today. They affirmed the validity of the diploma certificate presented to INEC, and they confirmed the diploma certificate and the certified true copy of the diploma as valid.
This is really strange.
Meanwhile, on the deposition that was carried on at the court earlier, whereby when the school swore under oath, they made some discrepancies in their statement. They were not being outright. They asked questions. Do you recognize this document tendered to the Independent National Electoral Commission? The school said they cannot say. I read the deposition. I read it yesterday at the World User 6. So what exactly is going on? That's the confusion here. What exactly is going on?
But one thing is becoming clearer by the day. There are those who had been in the system in the US for a very long time. The way they describe that university leaves so much to be desired.
Okay.
They have seen the past administrators of CSU as corrupt elements in their statements. If you had checked some of the news that was online, So I am not surprised that this last minute, this other development is coming up. Because what they are saying now is contrary to what they said some few days back. That they cannot authenticate because whichever certificate is in their custody is for those who have not collected theirs. That the best they do is to send transcript. So if there has been any certificate presented to INEC, they will not want to associate themselves with it. So how come this last minute again? Are we sure that this is coming from the school or that it's been alleged that somebody or some persons are saying this from the school?
That's a $1 million question, because Atiku Abubakar tendered this in his petition at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, but at the time he did not have access to this academic record for the court to validate or for them to use as evidence or as exhibit to validate their claim on the petition. Exactly. Now the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has given its judgment. The next phase is to go to the Supreme Court, and at the moment, with what a couple of legal practitioners have said, that regardless of whatever new evidence has turned out, if it wasn't tendered at the Presidential Election Petition Court, there is a strong possibility that the Supreme Court would not look into it unless in very extreme special cases, and it depends on the legal team of Atiku Abubakar. Well, let's wait and hear what the live broadcast on the presidential candidate of the PDP would be today, and then possibly we'll now know from there how we can have the conversation on this particular certificate saga. CP Chooks Enwanwu, thank you so much for being part of the World News at 12. I sincerely do appreciate you coming right here in the studio and sharing your intellectual input on the conversation.
Thank you, Esther, for having me.
All right. Thank you so much. In order for us to wrap up the World News at 12, let's take a look once again at the top stories. You heard that the Supreme Court has fixed a date for final judgment in the federal government's case against Nnamdi Kanu. Chicago State University has given a fresh update on certificate Tinubu submitted to INEC. Fresh details, however, have emerged as Atiku prepares to speak on Tinubu's academic records. Atiku files documents against Tinubu today as Chicago State University Saga rages on. That's a wrap on the World News at 12, right here on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Mwachukwu. Good afternoon. Thank you for being part of the World News. You can follow us on our social media handles at VOP 90.3 FM. Good afternoon. Up next is Matters with the Kami Judah.